I did not see her face first. I saw the way the snow bent around her body, as if the mountain itself was trying to hide what suffering had laid down. She stood at the edge of the frozen road, small against the white wilderness, clutching a thin shawl that could not keep out the biting wind. Clara May Holloway was 28 years old, though hardship had already written older lines around her eyes. She had nowhere left to go, and every step she took toward town had ended with another closed door. Hunger hollowed her cheeks, pride burned in her chest, and fear pressed against her ribs like a trapped bird. Yet she kept walking, because stopping meant surrender. Curiosity pulled me closer to her memory. The question of how a woman so fragile in appearance could still carry such stubborn fire inside her quiet breath today alone. Earlier that morning she had knocked on 3 doors, each painted with different colors, yet all answering with the same cold refusal. One woman stared at Clara's worn boots and turned away without speaking. A shopkeeper offered stale bread but no shelter, warning her that winter swallowed the careless. Whispers followed her steps, rumors that poor girls carried trouble, that desperation invited sin. Clara swallowed the shame and thanked them anyway, because manners were the last inheritance her mother left behind. She walked with aching legs and blistered feet, remembering warmer seasons when laughter still lived inside her. Now survival had become her only prayer. When the sky darkened and the snow began falling harder, she finally turned toward the mountains, choosing danger over slow humiliation. The trail rose sharply, and with every breath she felt her strength thinning, yet stubborn hope kept beating, soft and unbroken, against the silence. High above that trail, Elias Granger worked beside his cabin, splitting frozen logs with slow, patient strokes. He was 35, broad-shouldered, quiet-eyed, carrying the calm weight of a man who survived storms alone. The cabin stood solid, built from years of trapping profits and careful saving, yet no warmth lived inside its walls. Wealth had given him tools, not company. He cooked for one, spoke to no one, and measured days by sunrise and dusk. Loneliness followed him like a shadow that never touched the ground. That afternoon he felt an unease he could not name, a pull in the chest that made him pause and listen. The wind carried a faint sound, almost lost, a fragile cry tangled with snow. Elias dropped his axe and followed instinct, stepping away from solitude and toward whatever fate waited below today again, silently. Now there always still more ahead. He found her kneeling in the snow, hands pressed to the earth as if begging it for mercy. Clara tried to rise when she saw him, fear flashing across her face, but her legs betrayed her. Elias spoke softly, offering water, offering calm, moving with care not to frighten her. She whispered that she could work, that she would clean and cook and mend and sleep on the floor if necessary. Her voice trembled, yet determination held it upright. Elias hesitated, because kindness carried consequences in lonely places. Bringing her home meant gossip, responsibility, and the risk of hope. Still he wrapped his coat around her shoulders and lifted her gently, surprised by how light she felt. Together they moved toward the cabin, 2 strangers bound by cold and chance, unaware that this small rescue already carried the weight of destiny. Today again, somehow, quietly onward, slowly together, now ahead. Inside the cabin the fire was low, glowing like a tired heart. Elias set her near the warmth and poured soup, watching her hand shake as she lifted the cup. Clara thanked him too many times, each word heavy with relief and fear. Silence filled the room, thick and awkward, carrying questions neither dared to speak. Could she stay? Would he regret this mercy? Outside, the wind pressed against the walls, reminding them that the world was cruel and waiting. Elias offered her the small spare bed, then turned away, giving her privacy like a fragile gift. That night, both lay awake listening to the fire and the storm, sensing that their separate lives had already begun to bend toward each other slowly again, quietly together, now somehow deeply inward tonight. Always more ahead, still waiting softly, gently inside hearts, now here today again, soon more moments ahead together forever. Yet dawn did not bring certainty. It brought questions stacked like snowdrifts. Clara woke early and stared at the door, wondering if she should leave before becoming unwanted again. Elias watched the pale morning light and felt fear stir, not of scandal, but of caring too much. Neither spoke when they met by the fire, only shared quiet glances heavy with unspoken choices. Outside, The mountain waited, vast and indifferent, while inside 2 wounded souls hovered at the edge of change. Something fragile had begun, something unnamed, something dangerous in its tenderness. And though neither understood it yet, the path ahead would demand courage greater than survival, asking them to risk their guarded hearts for a future neither had planned, yet still today again slowly together onward, now soon somehow, always more ahead, waiting quietly, gently, softly inside forever, now here again today, still onward, more steps ahead together again. Morning brought pale gold light and fragile peace into the cabin. Clara rose first and began sweeping ash, washing cups, folding blankets, moving gently so Elias would not feel crowded. He watched quietly, noticing how purpose returned color to her cheeks and steadiness to her hands. Gratitude lived in her posture, yet dignity slowly replaced desperation. When he offered breakfast, she smiled without fear, and that small curve of her lips changed the room more than fire ever could. They ate together, speaking little, but silence no longer wounded. It softened. It listened. Outside, snow melted from branches, dripping like slow applause from heaven, blessing their fragile beginning with quiet promise and cautious hope. Days followed with simple rhythm. Clara cooked stews, mended torn coats, and planted small seeds near the window boxes. Elias repaired fences, checked traps, and brought firewood, always leaving extra beside her door. Their bond grew through gestures rather than words. When her hand shook from memory, he poured tea. When his shoulders slumped from loneliness, she hummed softly while cleaning. Neither confessed love. They simply practiced kindness daily. Yet whispers from town traveled up the mountain trail. A widow claimed scandal. A traitor warned Elias about reputation. He returned home carrying doubt like heavy snow in boots. Clara sensed distance, misunderstanding his silence as regret. Pain gathered again within her chest. That evening she packed her small bundle quietly. Pride whispered that leaving early hurt less than being abandoned later. Elias entered and saw the bag, understanding too late what silence had done. He did not shout or plead. He simply said that the cabin once echoed with emptiness and now carried breath, laughter, and warmth. He told her he feared losing her more than town judgment. Clara cried then, not loudly, but with relief that shook her bones. She set the bundle down. They sat near the fire, close enough for sleeves to touch. No kiss followed. Instead, shared presence stitched new strength between them, steady and enduring, forming trust that would not easily break again. Winter returned with sudden cruelty, sending fierce wind and collapsing part of the barn roof. Elias and Clara rushed into the storm together, tying beams, guiding frightened animals, lifting fallen boards. Snow blinded them, cold, numb fingers. Yet they moved with one breath, one rhythm, one purpose. When the work finished, exhaustion drove them inside. Soaked and trembling, Elias wrapped her in blankets. Clara warmed his hands between hers. They laughed weakly at their soaked hair and frozen boots. In that laughter lived victory, not over weather, but over fear. They realized then they were stronger together than alone, capable of surviving storms through unity and shared courage. After the blizzard passed, sunlight revealed a softened world. Snowfields sparkled. The valley opened like a white ocean. Elias invited Clara to walk the ridge. They stood overlooking endless mountains, breathing cold air that tasted clean and hopeful. He spoke quietly about dreams he buried long ago, of building a larger home, planting trees, sharing meals with someone who stayed. Clara shared memories of loss and hunger, explaining how survival hardened her heart. They listened deeply. When words ended, Elias offered his hand. Clara placed hers within it. That simple joining sealed what storms and silence already shaped. Love arrived quietly, without spectacle, but with unshakable weight. Spring followed patiently, painting valleys green and gentle. Together they planted vegetables, repaired fences, and welcomed traveling traders without shame. Town gossip softened when kindness answered suspicion. Clara walked confidently through streets once cruel. Elias stood beside her, no longer hiding behind solitude. Their cabin transformed into a place of warmth and laughter. Birds nested near windows. Smoke rose peacefully from a chimney. Neighbors slowly visited, bringing bread and news. Life returned in small, ordinary blessings that carried extraordinary meaning. Neither needed riches or grand celebrations. They needed belonging, safety, and shared mornings. And those gifts multiplied quietly, growing stronger with each season they endured together. One evening, Elias built a small fire outside beneath stars. He gave Clara a simple ring shaped from silver wire and mountain stone. He spoke of partnership, not ownership, of walking side by side through hardship and joy. Clara accepted with trembling smile and steady eyes. She promised loyalty, patience, and courage. They embraced gently, letting silence witness their commitment. The mountains stood tall around them, guarding their promise with ancient strength. No church bells rang. No crowd gathered. Yet heaven felt close. Their union felt sacred because it was chosen freely, built from respect and shared survival, not obligation or desperation anymore. Years would pass, carrying new wrinkles and deeper laughter. Children would run through fields. Gardens would grow. Storms would still arrive, but fear would no longer rule. That night, however, held everything necessary. Clara leaned against Elias, listening to his heartbeat, feeling safety replace old wounds. He kissed her forehead, honoring her resilience and strength. Together they watched stars drift across black sky, realizing happiness was not loud celebration, but quiet contentment earned through endurance. They returned inside, closing the door against cold, opening their future with steady courage and gentle love that would endure. If you are listening, remember this truth. Sometimes salvation arrives wearing worn boots and trembling hands. Sometimes love grows from shelter offered without expectation. Do not dismiss small mercies. Do not fear slow beginnings. Like Clara and Elias, you may find your greatest miracle not in sudden rescue, but in daily kindness that transforms loneliness into belonging and despair into hope, guiding broken hearts toward light and warmth again.